Hello, my name is Gray.
And my name is Crystal.
And this is Bustation Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show several times,
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
Both Asian. For today's episode, we will be discussing Season 3, Episode 16, No Rest for the Wicked, written by Eric Kripke, directed by Kim Manners.
What else did Eric write this season?
I think the first episode, which was truly downright atrocious.
Yeah, it was terrible. Okay. And now this one. All right, Eric.
Wait, why was the first episode atrocious? I just remember it being atrocious.
I think they were quite rude to Tamara and Isaac, and also just the concept of, like, the 7 deadly sins being real demons, but, like, completely uninteresting in any way.
Yeah, and, like, they die and it doesn't affect anything whatsoever.
Yes. Well, Dean got torn to shreds today.
He sure did.
That was pretty funny.
Well, let's talk about it when we get there. But I had some incredibly funny thoughts while I was watching that scene.
Yeah, can I just say the moment during this episode that I felt the most emotions was me zoning out of the episode and remembering that the next time we watch Supernatural we'll see Cass.
Oh, yeah.
That was my deepest moment of emotion while watching this.
Multiple times during this episode I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see Cass next week. And then I remember that next week we're gonna do
we have that damnable Q&A.
Yeah, we have a Q&A. So we're not gonna do it next week. We're gonna do it the next. So for the Q&A, our deadline is going to be April
1st.
Yes, April 1st at
midnight Eastern time.
Anyway, what did you know about this episode before going in? I mean, pretty much I my guess is that you knew how it ends, but not really the specifics of how we get there.
Yeah. So I knew that there was a little girl involved. I knew that it was going to end with, like, Lilith taking over Ruby's vessel and tricking them and, like, causing the Hellhounds to tear Dean to shreds. And then it'll end with, like, Dean chained up and screaming in hell or whatever and Sam crying a bunch. So yeah, that's what I knew.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know the specifics of this episode. I just knew that they're gonna interface with Lilith and that until the very end we're gonna think, oh, they're gonna save Dean, but alas, they are not.
They're so not gonna save Dean.
Yeah. So, road so far. We have Carry On My Wayward Son.
Yeah.
Nothing really jumps out to me in the recap, but it does end with the "you're gonna die and this is what you're gonna become."
Yeah,
which I thought was so corny.
Yeah, like the music cuts out and like the screen is black for a second and then it just flashes that scene.
Yeah. And to be fair, even though nothing in particular jumped out at me, I was so hyped. I was like, OMG,
were you?
Finale. Yes, I was. I was super excited. And like, Carry On My Wayward Son is... I went through a phase of like, oh, I love this song because it reminds me of Supernatural, and then like I hate this song because it reminds me of Supernatural. Mm-hmm. And now I think I have grown back to liking it. Like it's a good song, it's a hype song, it's fun, and it reminds me of my boys.
That is good.
I hate that. I hate that I just called Sam and Dean my boys.
Cass calls them boys and the man who would be king, so it's okay. You're just like letting your inner Cass out.
Yeah, I'm Cass coded for real.
Yeah. This episode is only 39 minutes long.
Yep.
And sort of like seeing that is sort of how I felt when I saw that the Magnus Archives finale was 25 minutes long. Like, oh, this isn't gonna be good. So...
what can you elaborate on that?
Oh, I think a lot of people were expecting the Magnus Archives like finale to be like 40 minutes long to like fully wrap things out and be like a fully like immersive cinematic podcast experience. And like I just didn't like it very much. And I just feel like finales that are like noticeably shorter than the regular runtime of a show, it's like, oh, like they put this together at the last minute, didn't they?
Okay, so it's not like a fully fulfilled vision.
Yeah,
I can see that. I thought this episode was
fine.
It was fine, but it was not a finale episode in the way it felt. It didn't feel like a season finale. But I suppose when this season started, the season beginner didn't feel like one as well. So like,
and what was the common denominator in both of these episodes? That's right, it's Eric Kripke.
It's Eric Kripke, baby. Yeah,
lost his touch.
You know what? He did have his touch before this. I was gonna say, like, did he ever have the touch? But he did.
Unfortunately.
We all watched season 2, episode 1, and we all did cry and moan and throw up.
It's true. Have you been keeping up with the Tumblr like brackets with like voting for best?
I have seen it.
Episodes?
I have seen it. Well, what's winning right now? What's the situation?
I mean, there's so many polls going on that I can't say who's winning. But yeah, I think like In My Time of Dying has like definitely trounced anything that it's gone up against so far.
I think In My Time of Dying is just a spectacular episode.
It's a really good episode.
Yeah. It's a really good episode. I think that was the beginning of the end for us. Season 2, episode 1 of a 15 long season show. But, like, that was like, it peaked here. And now we're watching it decline.
Yeah, only 300 more to go. Less than 300. Like 270 or something.
Yes. So, we start the episode with Dean in a forest just running.
Shaky cam.
Yes.
Atrocious.
Yeah. It's just like he's being chased by the hellhounds. And then blood splatter. And then he wakes up and, he's having nightmares. And he's very scared. And did you notice in any way, shape, or form that there is a difference in the camera this episode?
Yes! The camera angle looked, like, really bad on Dean's face in this scene. Like, it looked like shit. I don't know what the angle was.
It looked like shit, both, like, as an angle, but also, like, the graininess. Like, shit, I mean that, like, looks like shit. I mean, it looks old, not that it looks bad. The graininess. And I, like, because I watched this in a different website today, I'm not sure if that's because, like, the quality changed, like, in the different servers or whatever. Or it was, like, they used a different camera this episode.
Huh.
Or in that scene specifically. Because it looks like early season Supernatural. You know, like, it looks like season... This is the last season that they did with the film cam, right?
I think so.
Yes, I think so. I think in season 4 they changed to digital. So this is still, like, the same camera that they've been using from seasons 1 and 2. But I think maybe the color grading or something changed. Because this episode does look different.
Yeah, I did notice the coloring felt different, but I could not describe how it is different.
It's just, maybe they were going for a heavier vibe, you know, for obvious reasons in this episode.
Yeah.
So they were like, let's change up the coloring to something more akin to the earlier seasons.
Dean is also just notably uglier this episode. Did you notice this?
Give him a break. Give him a break.
He has 30 hours left to live. Yeah, I guess he can give up on the shaving routine a little bit.
Yeah.
Just terrible camera angle on his face this episode, but especially in this scene. Like, to the point where at points I was like, is this Dean? Yeah, okay, I guess it is. But is it? Yeah, it is.
Sam walks in, and they start talking about how they're trying to find Lilith, and they just have 30 hours to go. At some point, Dean says, like, why are we still doing this? Why don't we just go out and get some drinks? You know?
Yeah, he wants to
have
go
some
to
senoritas, cervezas.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
I'm fucking sick of this guy. Yeah, and again, like, another reminder that, like, the, like, next most fetishized group after Asian women in Supernatural is, like, Latinas, given, like, the existence of Casa Erotica, and also this scene.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Casa Erotica. That is... Why did it have, like, so many, like, canonical foreign things going on in this show? Like, why do we need to know about what Dean's porn preferences are?
Yeah, and also, like, Gabriel's, I guess. Like, Casa Erotica is Gabriel's favorite, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. This is what's important to men.
They just continue talking about how Sam is not gonna let Dean die. I promise you. Like, he says, I swear, everything's gonna be okay. I promise. And Dean just looks at him and is like, okay. But as we see from Dean's point of view, like, he's starting to have hallucinations, and he's seeing Sam's face, like, turn to that of a monster's.
Yeah. Which, like, they bothered to have scenes from Crossroad Blues in The Road So Far to show what hellhounds were, but they didn't bother to put the scenes from Crossroad Blues where people who are close to being killed by hellhounds start, like, hallucinating that everyone around them has a monster face, which I feel like was an oversight. Like, Bobby brings it up later, so, like, you're not left in confusion for too long, but I guess for a lot of people who forgot that part of Crossroad Blues, like, that is confusing.
Well, I guess I suppose you're right. It's just I didn't consider it because I do remember that that's a thing.
Yeah, but, like, Crossroad Blues was a whole season ago, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mostly laughed at the fact that they made Jared Padalecki rotate his head like that to get the shot. Now it's like, oh, they're making Jared Padalecki do that, and that's why we have this scene.
So, we cut to Bobby's place, and he has some device hanging over a map of the U.S., and apparently it's gonna be able to tell them the town that Lilith's in. So he, like, does some chanting, and the machine lands on New Harmony, Indiana. So Sam's, you know, ready to go. Oh, also, I forgot, Bobby's wearing a sweatshirt in this scene, which is not his usual fare. But, like, good for him.
I did not notice that. I mean, he puts on a vest after. Which is his usual fare.
Yeah, but before that it was just a sweatshirt, and he had the sleeves, like, rolled up to the elbow. on both arms, which is
Wow.
like an odd look, but like, go Bobby, I guess.
He's feeling adventurous.
Yeah, he's looking glamorous.
I love that. Is it an actual thing people... Is that like an actual rhyme that people say? Or did you just
Oh
happen
no,
to rhyme?
I was just referencing the Cult of Dionysus lyric. What is it? You're looking glamorous. Let's get mischievous and polyamorous. Yeah, that's the line.
Yeah, that's Bobby
So
Core.
Bobby Core is getting mischievous and polyamorous. So, Sam is, ready to go kill Lilith, and Dean tells him to hold up because he first doesn't trust that Lilith is even the one who holds his contract. He says, "We're going off of Bella's intel. Now when that bitch breathes, the air comes out crooked. She's dead. She died last week."
She's literally dead, bro. She's
Like,
literally
she does
dead.
not, that bitch does not breathe anymore. She died. You caused her to die in many ways. You were on the phone as she died going, "Tee-hee, it's what you deserve." God. Whatever. Some people are misogynistic to cope. So, yeah, so... Right.
How many episodes in a row will you bet that we can insert some people are just misogynistic to cope in it? Because this is the second one in a row. Perhaps we can have it next episode as well.
In Laz Rising? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He's probably really
he interacts
rude
with
to
Ruby there. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't even know she's Ruby. And he's still not very nice to her, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, and he also says that, they don't have a weapon to kill Lilith, and also Lilith wants to kill Sam, so this is just not a good idea. He says that just because he has to die doesn't mean Sam has to as well. And Sam goes like, "Okay, well, I have a solution to all of the problems, which is to summon Ruby and ask her for the knife, and also to confirm that Lilith holds your contract." And Dean is very against this.
He says she's the Miss Universe of lying
skanks.
At least he's getting creative. I mean, he could have just said she's a lying skank, but he added that little flair of she's the Miss Universe.
Yeah.
So
Dean just learned what metaphors were in 4th grade English class. And he's like trying to apply his knowledge to the real world.
He's a creative writer for real.
I mean, that's what the Winchesters is, isn't it?
What do you mean? He's writing fanfic about his parents.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. So, yeah, he says that they shouldn't trust Ruby because for all we know, she works for Lilith, which in season 4 ends up being sort of correct, right?
In a way, but she's not working for Lilith there, even then.
Wait, what's the scene where she's like, no one knew except for, like, she was like, Alistair didn't know. Did she say Lilith also didn't know, or did, like, was Lilith in the list of people who did know?
No, because, like, the intention is that they need to kill Lilith.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Lilith doesn't want to die.
Fair. I mean,
so, like, I'm assuming...
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Okay, so she's not working for Lilith. She's just working for Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dean gets all yelly and he says that we're not going to make the same mistakes all over again and they have to find a new way to save him. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but Sam is still pro-summoning Ruby. like, I think in response to the Miss Universe of lying skanks, he says, like, okay, fine, she's a liar. She's still got that knife. So, I know he's just being practical, but I've decided that every sentence is a Sam Ruby writes sentence.
No. He calls her a bitch later.
Like, yeah, no, that wasn't good, but it hasn't happened yet in this episode as we've summarized it.
We'll discuss it when we get there.
Yeah. So Bobby decides to go off and find another way to save Dean. Yada yada yada.
So Sam doesn't listen to Dean and still summons Ruby. So Ruby appears.
Yeah, and I did cheer and clap and scream when she appeared.
I am so happy to see her.
Yeah, she's like leaning against a doorway and being like so cool. And like I understand that being #badass is a way to avoid giving women personalities and depth, but like have you considered that she's so cool?
She is so cool. And like maybe not right now, but I do feel like we get some depth out of her.
I agree, yeah.
And like it's bubbling to the surface in this episode and all throughout season 2. And she does have a personality. Although yes, the personality is like I'm cool. But like for example, I mean, we're jumping to the future of this episode, but like how she tells Dean, like, I want to skin you alive. Like, that shit. Later on in the episode, she says, I wouldn't wish this to my worst enemy. And it's like, she, like, it shows, like, self-control. Like, she doesn't mean all the things she says. And it's like, I think she was being honest when she said, like, she wouldn't wish it to her worst enemy.
I agree.
And that's supposed to give us, like, depth of her character in some way. Yeah, I think she's a good character. And like many characters in Supernatural who are men, I feel like don't necessarily have that much depth, or like didn't have at the beginning, and then the fandom received them well, and that led to their depth. Or they just don't have depth, and then the fandom just gives it to them. And it's not just for Supernatural. You can see this in a lot of fandoms. And like true. It frustrates me that a lot of female characters are not given that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all convoluted. But Sam asks here, like, how do you get around so fast? Does he not know at this point that like demons can teleport? Or the better question should be, can demons teleport? What's their deal?
I assume that they can, but I guess do we know either way for certain?
I have no idea. Maybe one day we'll get like a proper confirmation.
Yeah.
It's like when Dean was a demon, he was just like walking around and like driving around.
Well, that's just because he was a loser demon, though.
He was a loser demon. Yeah. And Sam asks, like, did you know about Lilith and the contract? And Ruby says yes. And Sam is offended that she didn't tell him. And she says, you guys weren't ready because, like, you would have just charged after her half-cocked and Lilith would have peeled the meat from your pretty, pretty faces. And Sam says, like, okay, but we're ready now, and we're gonna have your knife, because you're gonna give it to us. And Ruby does her reveal here, which is that she can't do anything about killing Lilith, but Sam can. And she elaborates that all that shit about, like, yellow eyes powers that Sam has, if he cultivates those well enough, he can kill Lilith without even lifting a muscle. That's how she words it. And she says that Lilith is doing a little bit of a rest and recreation moment right now. So, like, they can attack right now. It's a good time. Yeah. At some point, Sam says, like, why are you just telling me this now? And she says, well, I'm a demon. Manipulative is kind of in the job description. And also, you wouldn't have considered it until now, because only now are you desperate enough.
Mm.
And I think that's interesting. Like, her reasoning for holding back. It's like, if I told you that earlier, you would have just did it your way. But now that we're here and you're desperate, you're more likely to do it my way. And it's like conniving, you know?
Yeah.
But like, it's the way, like, I don't know. I think it's so interesting. Like, she is portrayed as such a smart character. And she is. And I find that super interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Though, I guess, I feel like the only reason Sam wouldn't do it her way is because of Dean.
Yeah,
Like,
but like...
But
Yeah.
Dean is always going to be in the picture, so I guess it does matter. Like, Sam has to be desperate enough to go against what Dean thinks he should do, is sort of what's happening.
Yeah.
I guess, okay, I have two other thoughts about this part of the scene. First, you can see the sweat on Sam's neck when he's setting up the summoning ritual, so that's just a thing. Thank you, Sam. And secondly, when Ruby appears, she says, like, a phone call would have worked as well. And I really like the idea of, like, Sam could have texted her at any point, but he's still doing this whole summoning ritual. The way that I like the idea of Sam and Dean praying to Cass when he has a phone in the future. Just, like,
Yeah.
the idea that, like, you could communicate, like, normally, but, like, there is a way for you to communicate that, like, sort of, like, forces your voice into their head or forces their, like, physical presence in a way, and that is, like, what you're choosing to do.
Yeah, like, you can't mute my notifications if my notifications are in your head.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, I think it says something about the way that Sam and Dean view both Ruby and Cass as, like, tools or
Yeah.
not human, you know? Like, it's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And at some point, Ruby tells Sam, like, you don't like being different. You hate the way Dean looks at you sometimes. Like, you're some kind of sideshow freak. And, like, she follows that up, but suck it up. I don't care if you hate being different. We've got a lot of ground to cover. But, like, that first part of the line reminds me of that one post that's like, I like Dean's queer allegory better than Sam's queer allegory because Sam's queer allegory is about being queer and hating yourself.
What's Dean's queer allegory? Does Dean have a
I have
queer
no
allegory?
idea. I have no idea. I mean, I suppose he has.
Like, not to kick up, like, a million discourse, but I don't think Dean has a queer allegory.
I think he's just queer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that what they're saying is that with Sam, it's like, oh, woe is me, I hate myself for who I am. And like I do get that, and that it's, you know, yeah, I mean, I understand, but I remember reading that like whole situation back in the day and like being like, God, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw some really funny tags the other day where it was like Sam trying to come out to John, like, Dad, would you still like me if I was different from the other kids? John thinking that Sam's demon powers are coming to light. Sammy, you have to ignore it. You have to repress all of it forever and ever. Never think about it again.
Literally.
And I think that is exactly what happened, and that is what created this man that you see in front of you today.
Anyway, Dean shows up and goes, so that's you, huh? Our slutty little Yoda. Which is...
God, I knew about this line, like, years in advance, and I was still not prepared.
It's so funny because I think you mentioned this line like super early on when Ruby showed up. Like, doesn't Dean call her slutty little Yoda? And so when it showed up, I was like, it's here! She's literally their slutty little Yoda. What a line!
What is he even
like, what
saying?
does it even mean? What does it mean?
Done to make him think that she's slutty besides be a woman?
No, yes, that, but also, like, what does he mean by, like, Yoda? Like, what does Yoda
like a
do?
mentor
Like,
figure?
say truth?
Like someone who,
Yeah.
like, guides you but is, like, sort of, like, mysterious about it?
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway, Dean says, like, I knew you'd show up because Sam wouldn't listen. And he reiterates that, like, yeah, it's annoying. I did like the fight scene though, but we'll get to it when we get to it. But Dean says, like, you're not gonna teach Sam anything over my dead body. And Ruby goes, yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Ruby's thinking about season 4 and going, I am about to be hilarious.
He literally is about to be hilarious. But he demands for the knife and says that just give us the knife and then never bother us ever again. But Ruby keeps on insisting until Sam interferes. And Dean just says, like, don't you see that this is all a trick? She just wants you to become her little Antichrist superstar. And Ruby says, I want Lilith death. That's all. And, like, she's being honest here, right? As we said earlier, like, she's being completely for real here. And she says, like, Dean asks why. She says, I've told you why. And Dean, like, says, like, oh, right. Because you were human once, blah, 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 blah. And Ruby says, I'm so sick of proving myself to you. You want to save yourself. This is how, you dumb spineless dick. Yeah. Dean punches her. And she punches back, baby.
And she has blood on her face. And she looks great.
Yeah. She looks great. She punches the hell out of him. Sam just goes, Ruby, no! And then, she punches Sam as well. I love this because the moves here are, like, super fun. Like, Dean is on the floor and she kicks him, like, in the stomach. So she flips around and then she knocks him over with her head. And, like, I don't know. It reminds me of, like, video game, choreography, like, fight scenes. And I thought it was super fun.
Yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of these moves are very obviously choreographed. Like, I think Dean's original punch,
and I love that!
Like, I was like, that did not connect. But, like, I don't care because I'm having fun.
I love that it looks like a little dance. Like, when there was a part where she lifts his head to headbutt it, and I was like, that's so cool. I love that. Like, because you know how, like, in a lot of fight scenes in the show, sometimes we'll just go, and then they're fighting.
Yeah.
But, like, this one, I can describe the fight because I thought it was choreographed very interestingly.
Yeah, it's fun.
Anyway, at some point, Dean, just starts laughing and smiling and giggling, twirling his hair. And Ruby just goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I think you're missing something. And then he pulls out the knife. He swiped it from her during the fight. And Ruby's like, I'm gonna kill you. And she tries to step out, but she is in fact in a devil's trap.
Yep.
So, yeah. Sam and Dean start going upstairs. Do you think Sam was in on this? I don't think so.
No.
But, like, he's not, right?
Was. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ruby, like, as they're going upstairs, just goes, oh, you're too stupid to live. Is that it?
She's so for real.
she's so for real, and he is too stupid to live.
Yeah.
And she goes like, then fine, you deserve hell. I wish I could be there, Dean. I wish I could smell the flesh sizzle off your bones. I wish I could be there to hear you scream. Like, she was doing her everything in this scene.
Yeah. Right, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Dean goes, and I wish you'd shut your pie hole, but we don't always get what we want. And at that moment, I was like, I'm glad you're dying at the end of this.
No, literally.
Like, I'm glad her dreams are coming true.
Exactly. I hope that she did get to smell the flesh sizzle off of his bones.
Exactly.
Anyway, I just hate this scene because it starts off as, like, Sam acting independently, like, doing his own thing, like, doing what he thinks is right to save Dean. And then, like, Dean swoops in and he's like, actually, I'm BBC Sherlock and I anticipated all of this because I'm so smart and I studied 1 million psychology. So actually you lose and the camera's only gonna focus on my face, and as soon as I enter the scene, Sam will literally be in the background out of focus the entire time and just follow behind me like a kicked puppy as we leave Ruby on the ground. Like, I'm sick of him. I'm so glad he's gonna die.
Yeah.
So we cut to a little bit later, and Sam and Dean are, like, loading up guns and shit. And, yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Sam wasn't in on this, because he's like, man, like, are we actually just gonna let Ruby, like, rot down there? And Dean says, like, yes. And Sam starts expressing, like, a desire to know what Ruby's plan is and to try to stop Lilith. I think one of the biggest weaknesses of this episode is that we don't even get a hint of what Ruby's plan for Sam is. Like, we have, like, 10 different arguments of Dean being like, no, like, whatever she wants you to do is evil and it'll warp you forever and it's just demon trickery, but, like, we have no idea what it is. Like, if we knew a little bit about it and it seemed menacing in some way, like, maybe I would get Dean's perspective. But I just don't get how neither of them just even bothered to, like, ask her, like, hey, what is it? Before they decided anything.
Yeah. Really makes you think that maybe he really is just too stupid to live.
Literally. Dean references Carrie, which I haven't read or watched. Have you read or watched Carrie?
I've watched the more recent one.
Okay. I know that a lot of the Sam fans, like, enjoy comparing him to Carrie. Like, what do you, as the person with knowledge, in what ways do you think the similarities lie?
I watched Carrie when I was really young, so, like, which you probably shouldn't do. But, like, I don't remember much about it, is what I'm saying. I just remember there was a lot of blood and killing and murder. And, like, it's, like, about this girl with, like, religious guilt or something. And she was, like, abused, like, by her mother. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah. I don't remember much about it. I mean, for sure you know the iconic scene of, like, blood being poured down on her. And the whole, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do people put Carrie in the, like, feminine rage category? What's the deal with that?
Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's like, I feel like it's a story that's very, like, you know, like, about being, like, about girlhood in a way. So, like, in that way, I don't think it can be related to Sam. But I'm sure it has, you know, more to say than about being about girlhood that I completely missed by virtue of not remembering much of it. So maybe it is a Sam thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Dean says, like, who the fuck cares what Ruby has to say? Like, we have the knife now. And Sam reminds him that, like, Lilith is very powerful. She has a bunch of demons backing her up. and that knife is not going to be enough. So Dean says again, we are not going to make the same mistake all over again. And Sam, thank God, asked the question that I was thinking the first time
What
Dean
the
said
fuck
it, which
do
is,
you
what the
mean?
fuck does that mean? um, yeah, so Dean says that
So
this is part of a pattern where, like, John made a deal with a demon, and then Dean to save Dean, and then Dean made a deal with a demon to save Sam. So, like, Sam working with Ruby at all is equivalent to Sam making a deal with a demon to save Dean. I'm honestly still not clear of what his point is, but I think that's
it's
what he's saying.
yeah. Like he says some pretty words like she's just yanking your chain down the road and you know what it's paved with and you know where it's heading. And I was like, this
Like,
is just
do
all to
I?
trick us into thinking that this means anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Again, this
it
is
doesn't.
literally him learning about figurative language in his 4th grade English class. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just doing an exercise for class.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Dean is doing a false equivalence here. Like, Sam is not making a demon deal, he is tapping into his psychic powers, which he should do all the time because it's cool and sexy of him to do it. But yeah, I don't know. So much of this episode's conflict is predicated on demon equals bad. And like that probably works for most people, but as someone who's just like opposed to like Supernatural's bioessentialism on principle, like it's just never gonna work on me.
Yeah, also like given that Sam has demon blood
Yeah.
and like so in and of itself there should be conflict in the show because of that and like not just be straight up like demons are evil.
Right.
And
Well, yeah, the way it is currently going seems to be like, yes, Sam has demon blood in him, but as long as he fights against the demon blood that is fundamentally evil inside of him, then he can still be good.
yeah.
Boring.
Yeah. What I mean, are you know how universities you're required to take like an ethics class or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, but
you weren't?
no.
Yeah. RIP. But like I was required to take an ethics class and I did think like what would Sam feel while taking this class for real? Like I don't know. It's because a lot of those is like about action and like Sam is so guilty about everything in his life
Yeah.
that it's not rooted in actual like what did I do. It's rooted in who am I.
Yeah.
And
There are a lot of actions he should feel guilty about that he doesn't.
yeah, like he's more focused on like what are my thoughts, what are my feelings, and it's just like maybe Sam, you should look at it more in a what have I done, you know,
Mm.
and maybe that won't solve the problem. Maybe it will just make him feel guiltier. But
But at least it'll be about real stuff, like killing Jake. He should
Yeah.
feel bad about that. So, Sam says, like, Dean, like, what do you think is gonna happen? This is me. I can handle it. Which is also a sentence that means nothing.
yeah, like what do you mean? This is me. This is real. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. Gotta let the light shine. Like Sam should have sang that song. He should have broken into song.
Well, he thinks that Dean should have sung Eye of the Tiger, so yeah, he could have joined in with his own song.
Oh my god, they sang this episode.
They do sing this episode.
I forgot.
Sam says that he's willing to, like, risk anything because Dean's his brother and Dean did the same thing for him. And, Dean says, like, well, yeah, that's actually an argument against all that because we are each other's weak spots. And all the demons know it and they're using it against us. Are they? Are they even? Like, they say this a lot this season, but I just don't really get that vibe.
Dean is so like, I'm so special.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they all care about me so much, they're willing to find everything that can, because you control me, whatever, whatever. Maybe they are, but like, they didn't do a good job of showing it this season, so this like falls kind of flat.
Yeah, like, if I saw more demons, like, conspiring with each other and shit, like, I might believe that more. Like, I do know that they all generally know about Sam and Dean, but it seems like the factions are, like, fractured enough that it's hard for me to believe that there's a big demon conspiracy happening, even though there sort of is. Yeah, Sam's hurt by the idea that they're each other's weak spots. He's like, you don't mean that. We're family. What does that even mean?
None of these words mean anything. They're having two different conversations.
Just because they play the piano theme of Americana throughout the scene doesn't make it good. It is Americana, right? Like, there's some kind of a piano theme that sounded familiar.
I don't
during
think so. I feel like I would have recognized it.
Okay,
if
it's
was.
some other piano thing that sounds kind of like Americana. And then Dean says another sentence that means nothing. He says, like, we go after Lilith our way, the way Dad taught us to. What does that mean?
Dad taught us to be stupid. So, alas, we shall
Shitterly. That is literally what it is. Like, they reference John, like, twice this episode, and it's like, Eric Kripke literally, like, wrote, like, the first episode of season 3, then took a 14-episode nap, and then, like, woke up to write this, and he was like, what have I done in the past? Reference John? Yeah, let's put that in. I just don't get it. I don't know what they're going for. Yeah, so he's all like, and if we go down, then we go down swinging. What do you think? Yeah, so Sam makes fun of him, which, okay, usually I don't like when they end, like, serious conversations with, like, one of them making fun of the other, but it works really well here because the conversation was stupid as shit. So,
yeah, like, when Dean said, like, I rehearsed that too, I was like, it's obvious, because none of the things Sam said you interface with in a meaningful way. You were just trying to get out what you wanted to say. And same goes for Sam. Like, I have no idea what the fuck you two guys were talking about, but you were having different conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam makes fun of him and says that he should have been jamming Eye of the Tiger. And Dean says he rehearsed that, like you said, which is so funny to me. And they're like, okay, let's go to Indiana. And I wonder what a demon has to do for fun. So many fun things is the answer.
Yeah. We go to Indiana. And so there's, two old men collecting their mail. And one of them goes like, hey, how's that granddaughter of yours? And the guy goes like, oh, she's homesick, blah, blah, blah. But, how's you and your wife? Tell your wife. They're just doing the niceties. And then they shake hands. The niceties. They literally are doing the niceties.
Yes.
And they shake hands, and as one of them leaves, the other notices that he left a note on his hand. So he opens it, and it just says, help us. And we enter with the grandfather, who from now on forward I'll call the grandpa. And he opens his door to a dead lady on the floor, covered with bugs. So she's been dead a while.
Yeah.
And
she was not treated very nice.
Yeah. She continues walking forwards, and in the kitchen, there's a dad and a mom. And the mom is, like, mixing something up in a bowl. And the dad is, like, just there, I suppose. And uh the grandpa asks, like, where is she? And the mom says, like, upstairs playing with Freckles. And the grandpa is saying, like, if we just stay here, we're dead. And the father is like, shut up, she'll hear you. It's her or us. Like, it's like they're very quiet and talking about how they can't kill her because she's their baby girl. And the grandpa insists that, like, well, not anymore, because, like, that's not her anymore. And then suddenly a little girl comes down the stairs and she's wearing a very pretty dress, except the dress is completely drenched in blood.
I love this actress so much. She's having so much fun.
She is. And it's like, I think she's a really good actress. She's really good. She's really good at what she was doing, because it was, like, so convincing that, like, oh, this is, like, an adult, like, not adult, but, like, this is, like not child trying to play a child. Like, that really is the vibe that you're getting. And it's, like, super fun and creepy and cool. I mean, we all know that, like, it's a trope to have, like, a evil little girl.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ooh, evil little girl. But she literally
ooh, evil little girl. Like, that is so fun.
Yeah. And, she's saying, like, what happened to you? And she says, like, oh, Freckles was mean to me. But, like, she says it like this. Freckles was mean to me. Like that. And the parents are like, oh, that's nice, dear. And she goes, like, will you push me on the swing? And the dad goes, yes, but don't you want to change clothes first? And she's like, oh, you're so smart, Daddy. I love you. And then she hugs him, and, like, you can hear the squelching of the blood. And the dad just goes, like, hey, do you think after a while you could let us go? And Lilith, who, is the little kid. I think we forgot to mention. But, like, obviously, it's Lilith. She goes, like, why would I let you go? And the father goes, well, I don't know. And she's like, don't you want to be here? Don't you love me? And as soon as dad goes, like, no, we do. And the mother goes, we love you so much. And Lilith is just like, don't be mean to me. I don't like it if you're mean to me. Just like Freckles or the mean old babysitter. And as soon as the dad says, like, sorry, Lilith just goes, like, okay, that's okay, silly. Now let's go and play. And it's, like, super creepy. For real.
Having so much fun. Love it.
It's such a fun scene. So fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really like the idea that, like, this is, like, a millennia-old demon, but, like, when she wants to have fun, what she does is, like, possess a little girl and terrorize a family via being a little girl who's also so creepy. Like, it's just very fun. Like, that does sound like a fun thing to do. Like, I get it. Good for her.
Yeah. This is her rest and recreation, baby.
Yeah. So Sam and Dean are about to head to Indiana, but for some reason the Impala just isn't starting. And Bobby shows up holding a car part, and he's like, hello, I have taken this from your car, where the fuck do you think you're going? And Bobby's upset that they plan to go off and try to defeat Lilith without him. He goes, do I look like a dishable prom date to you? And Sam looks, like, so chastised at this sentence. He's like, no, Bobby, of course not!
I love this line, because, like, I think it's famous. I think somebody turned it into, like, a ditchable prom date Tuesday or something.
Oh, that's fun.
Is it? Did someone do that? I have no idea. But, like, if they haven't done it, they should.
And Dean says, like, you're not part of this. This is just about me and Sam. And Bobby goes, fuck no. Family don't end with blood. Which I know is a famous supernatural line, but, like, I don't... We needed a flashback episode with Bobby before I would care about this line, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
Like,
we'll get that in season 7.
He raised them. Like, I know that he raised them, but, like, not, like, at this point in the show, no one else knows that. So...
Yeah, like, it's fascinating how much Bobby is in the show, but, like, he just doesn't feel like, you know, like, a character that you're meant to, like, love. Like, he feels like very much a utility character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess we're supposed to have, like, his moment in the season 2 finale where, like, we're supposed to be like, oh, he, like, really cares about Dean and they have a close relationship, but, like, I just don't think we know enough about their history. So, yeah, sorry, this is not my best line. Also, like, Supernatural has sort of just, like, done this line to death already with their hashtag SPN family shit, so, like, it's done, it's over. So, this is when Bobby brings up that Dean's having hallucinations right now, and that means that he needs more help than he normally would. And Bobby says that he'll follow along with them in his own car. Which, why is that? Isn't there room in the Impala?
Maybe, like, if they brought, like, the other car, they can bring more equipment as well, blah, blah, blah. This is just me bullshitting my way through this.
Maybe he just wants to give, like, Sam and Dean some time to do, like, scenes alone for the good show, to make the show good.
That's literally the point. They need to sing Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi.
It's true.
And they need to do it alone.
It's true. It would be so fun if Bobby was just in the back seat, like, trying to join in, and they're like, not you, we're having a moment. We get a very ugly fade to the next scene.
We fade in to the Impala, and Sam starts talking in a way that implies that he thinks maybe there's a chance Dean is gonna die, and he wants to say goodbye. And Dean just goes like, no. You're not gonna go goodbye speech on me. Like, if this is my last day on Earth, I don't want it to be socially awkward.
Mm.
And he says like, you know what I do want? Bon Jovi starts playing and Sam goes, Bon Jovi? And Dean says, Bon Jovi rocks on occasion. I still don't understand what qualifies as good and bad for Dean. Like, music-wise.
I have no clue. I could not tell you.
Do you think Dean is a good KTV bar, like, buddy?
Is that like the karaoke bar?
Oh, yeah. You don't have KTV bars there, or, like, is it just called different?
Karaoke is not as popular in the US as it is in a lot of parts of Asia, I believe. Like, I feel like all the karaoke places that I've seen have been in, like, majority Asian districts.
So, like, Chinatown, Koreatown. Koreatown, probably.
Yeah.
Because, like, you here in the Philippines, a lot of the KTVs are, like, in, like, you know, like, in, like, the Koreatown of Manila. I'm not sure, actually. But, like, that's where me and my friends do it.
Yeah.
So, have you ever been in one? Or where do you do your karaoke?
I don't really do my karaoke.
Aww.
Yeah, which is
well, do you think Dean would?
Sad. Well, he does canonically do karaoke at some bars later in the series,
but like,
right?
it's like that's not karaoke. Is that what karaoke bars are like in the US? It's like open. That's just a bar with a karaoke.
Yeah, that's just a bar with karaoke. It's not a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Dean would go to a karaoke bar because that would be gay.
Why would it be gay?
It would be gay. In Dean's mind, I think it would be gay.
Yeah, perhaps. I think Dean would be the type of guy who would like, if he's drunk enough, he'll sing every song, even if he's not the one who put it in, you know?
Yes.
I think he will be that guy.
I agree. He would be just as unbearable.
But like, I've been saying this, if Dean was Filipino, he would thrive as a tito. Like, he would thrive as a Filipino tito, like a Filipino uncle. He has the vibes for it.
Okay, what does that entail?
Like, you know, like karaoke, drinking, I suppose. Being kind of an asshole to your nieces and nephews.
Uh-huh.
Just
this
like being a bad person. It sounds like him, right?
Being a bad person does sound like him, I agree.
Yeah. He's the type that, like, will not give you money, but will give you drinking money. Like, he'll be like, do you want a drink? And you'll be like, okay. And that's the only time in your life that he will give you any sort of money. Huh. Like, including Christmas and Lunar New Year. Occasions where they're kind of obligated to give something to people.
And I sounds respect correct. That. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very Dean.
Right. So you think he would be unbearable at a karaoke bar?
He would be unbearable in a karaoke bar. That is true. Do you think like he would thrive in a situation where Sam has children and he's like the uncle? I think it would be better than if he had children.
Yes. Well, let me think. I feel like the closest thing that we get to that is how Sam is parenting Jack a lot more than Dean is in the early season 14 days. But, you know, that's a very unique situation where Dean is threatening to kill this guy every second. So
that is true.
I could not extrapolate much from that.
Also, I think there's just much to say about whether Sam is the type of guy who wants children anyway. Which I actually will be very happy to have that discussion in the future.
Okay, yeah. So, I think Dean would want to be involved, like, an embarrassing amount. Like,
that's true.
I feel like he'd be quite pushy about being involved in Sam's children's lives. And I don't know, like, he still, like, seems to think that John is a good parent, at least in this episode written by Eric Kripke. So, like, I don't know what his parenting style would be like at all.
That's interesting and so true. So, they start singing. And Sam is so bad at it. Like, Dean sounds like a normal guy who's singing. And Sam is like, I don't know, like his voice is like cracking and like, wanted. And
I found his bad singing very charming.
I think it's charming. I think it's funny. It's like funny in like, oh, like that kind of way. Not like in a haha, I'm laughing at you because you're so terrible kind of way. I think it's endearing.
Yeah, and he's smiling a lot, and he looks very beautiful when he does it.
Yeah.
Sam looks really good this episode. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet.
No, you haven't. Okay. And I don't agree.
What? Oh my god. Okay, fine. Okay, let's discuss this. Tell me more.
I think he looks kinda ugly. That's the only discussion we'll have. I'll just go, he looks kinda ugly, and then you go, I think he looks pretty.
I think he looks pretty.
He looks kinda ugly.
Well, okay. I guess there's nothing we can do about how you're wrong and I'm right, so we must move on.
They just keep on singing. And as they drive off, there's a shot where we see that they have a busted taillight. I never understood this. I don't drive. Never have drived. Well, I have drived and then it scared the crap out of me, so I've never done it again. But
that's correct of you.
Busted taillight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never had an experience in the Philippines where my family or whatever or whoever I'm with gets
Mm.
stopped for a busted taillight.
Yeah.
But it feels so stupid to me
Mm.
that like, so what's the game plan? You have a busted taillight, that's dangerous.
Mm.
I'm gonna pull you over and give you a ticket and then go forth with your life?
I don't know because I have not had a busted taillight situation either. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess the point is like maybe it's preventative. Like as soon as you bust a taillight, you should try to replace it as soon as possible because if you keep driving around with it, you'll keep getting tickets.
Yeah, but like in the moment, you have a busted taillight.
I think
And then
they
the
probably just
police
let you
stops
go on
you.
your way.
And then they let you go again. And then it's like, you're still in danger. Because you have a busted taillight. And they're just letting you do it. And like, all you need to do is pay a fee for it.
But
I don't
it's
know,
like
I think it's so
each
stupid.
time you run across a traffic cop, you'll get a new ticket for as long as you have a busted taillight. So like I feel like it probably still works.
Why don't they just replace the light then and there?
That is a good question. I don't is it the same for every like car model? Like do you have to go to the
I don't know,
special Impala shop to get a taillight for the Impala?
yeah, the 1967 Chevy Impala shop.
Yeah.
For real.
There's probably like a several sizes fits all taillight. Yeah, I do agree that it makes more sense for traffic cops to just be mechanics. But alas.
Basically, the Impala gets stopped. And
Mm.
a cop comes over and it's like, license and registration, blah blah blah. And as soon as Din gives it, he's like, yeah, I was gonna change the taillight. And then he steps out of the car and beats the shit out of this officer.
Yes.
And then stabs him in the neck. And he does the whole like light up like a demon from the inside demonic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize that it's a demon. And Bobby's like, what the hell? And Sam's like, how do you know it's a demon? And Dean just says, like, I just knew I could see its face, its real face, under that one.
Mm.
So, slay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they end up in the woods. And they're putting branches over the car.
Yeah, the
And I thought
police
this
car
was so
to hide
funny.
the fact that Dean killed a cop.
Yeah. I thought that was so funny because it's like the car it's still there.
Yeah, they do not cover it very well.
And Sam is like, how are you seeing demons? And Bobby says, well, you're 5 hours. So this is 5 hours to go.
Yep.
You're 5 hours to go. You're piercing the veil. You're glimpsing the V-side. Wow. they really are hammering home the metaphors.
Yep.
And the similes this episode. And Dean says like, a little less new agey please. And Bobby just goes, you're almost Hell's bitch. So you can see Hell's other bitches.
What a way to word it.
What a way to word it. But yeah, basically that's what's happening. Dean is seeing them because he's about to become them.
Yeah, so we cut back to Lilith just having so much fun. So yeah, apparently her thing is that she really likes sweets the way that Ruby really likes fries. So, you know, they're having like a semi-family dinner thing, but the only things available are candy and cake. And like the mom is bringing in a birthday cake and Lilith goes like, yay, it's my birthday every day, and blows out the candles. I'm surprised that no one asked her what she wished for. She didn't say anything about what she wished for. I feel like that's a missed opportunity to do some corny horror.
What would you presume she would say?
God, I don't know. Like, just like general, like that, like we can be like this forever, like semi-ominous, cheesy
Yeah.
shit, you know?
Yeah.
So she goes like, "Hey, Grandpa, can I ask you something? Why did you try to go to Mr. Wayburn for help?" And so the assumption is that, like, everyone in this town
The
is
guy
a
is a
demon.
demon,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that he passed the help us message on to Lilith. Right. And, you know, the grandpa's like, I didn't. And she calls him a big fat liar. And she asks, like, the mom and dad if they were in on this plan, and both of them say no, meaning that they are leaving the grandpa to die. And
I mean, they really weren't, though. So, like, what do you want them to do?
I don't know if they, like, I couldn't tell if they were or weren't in on the plan. Like, I sort of assumed that maybe they were. And, you know, she calls him a mean old man who doesn't really love her. And then, you know, she, like, does, like, a hand motion and his neck fucking snaps. Let's go. And then she goes, "Nobody scream, okay? Screaming makes me mad," which was so fun. So, you know, the parents are, like, crying and covering up their mouths. And, you know, she's back to happy, and she asks to have ice cream with her cake. Ugh, she's just so fun. She's so fun.
I love how, like, for, like, almost all the cases that we like this season, it involves a child in some way. Like, we really like The Kids Are Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Because it involves, like, a child, like, being a creepy creature.
Yes.
And then I liked the long distance call one. Specifically because of the, like, conflict with the father whose child died.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked what they did with that one. And it's like, I don't know. Like, why are children so effective in, like, horror and evoking feelings?
Yeah, I don't know, but they are just very good at it.
Yeah, I think it's very effective. Like, if you want to do a sad thing, it's like, and then the child died. But, like, Supernatural is very strict with the no child dying on screen thing.
Yeah. Which I guess is probably a good thing, but also, like, they allow so many other things that it's like, weird that this is where you draw the line.
I think it's like
just like the network
like
would lose a lot of advertising if blah blah blah. We cut to, like, the outside, where Sam and Dean are, like, peering, and also Bobby, he's also there, are peering into this window.
Bobby too is in this episode.
Yes. And apparently Dean can tell that the little girl is Lilith because her face is the ugliest of all the, like, 5 million demon faces in this town. I still don't get that.
Yeah.
Like, all of them are demons. Like, I don't know. Also, like, you know, the general trope of, like, beauty equals goodness and ugliness equals bad evilness is, like, annoying in general. But yeah, okay, apparently Dean can just tell that this one's Lilith. Dean stops Sam from just going for it because the whole town is full of demons and it's gonna be hard for them to get past everyone and kill a 10-year-old girl. And Sam and Bobby are both like, yeah, it is pretty bad that we're gonna kill a 10-year-old girl, but, like, this is about saving everyone in the town. It's for the greater good. And Dean's like, okay, sure, fine. This is the only discussion they have about the killing a 10-year-old girl thing.
I mean, not only did they kill a 10-year-old, they killed multiple people via knife.
Yes. Because...
Also, I would like to say...
Yeah, the knife kills the vessel, like, fully.
Yeah. Also, I would like to say, I like that they never attempted to show us the demon faces.
Yeah.
Like, thank fucking God. I don't want to see that shit. Like, whatever Supernatural thinks of as a demon face, I don't want to see it. Keep that shit to yourself. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that I didn't attempt.
Yeah. They went and looked at a dictionary of various skin conditions that they wanted to villainize, and then they were like,
Yeah.
maybe not.
So we go back to Lilith and the mom. And she goes like, read it again, mommy. And the mom goes, but I've read it 26 times. I love that she has counted up until 26.
Yeah.
And Lilith just goes, again. And, she goes, once upon a time, blah, blah, blah. And the story is about, like, an evil dragon that demanded, like, blood from the children.
Yeah.
And, like, about, like, like, a terrible being that is ravaging a town. Like, it's very obviously, like, Lilith is the dragon in this story kind of situation.
Yeah, which is fun. But I feel like what would be even more fun is if we saw that she makes the mom stop before, like, the tide turns and the princess starts winning, and then she makes her start from the beginning again. But, like, I know it's already sort of implied, but I just love seeing evil little girl antics.
Yeah. Anyway, the mailman is still flipping through the mail at 9 p.m. when suddenly Dean just, like, goes like, hi. Basically. Like, he just shows up at the mailman's eyesight, like, line of sight, and, like, starts running, so the mailman follows him, and then as they turn the corner, Sam shows up and stabs the guy. And then, like, Bobby is putting holy water to the water system. I mean, putting holy water. Like, making the water in the water system holy water. And then, we cut back to Sam and Dean, who has now killed the other neighbor that they saw that is a demon. And then, suddenly, as Dean is running, he gets cornered up into a fence by none other than Ruby. Hi, Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
And she goes like, I'd like my knife back, please. Or your neck snaps like a chicken bone. And then Sam shows up and puts the knife against her neck and goes like, he doesn't have it. I have it. And they ask her how she got out, and she goes, what you don't know about me could fill a book. And I would love to buy it.
Yes.
They exchange this look where Dean, like, looks at her and then looks away, and it's like a whole thing. And Ruby's like, what? And Dean just says, like, I couldn't see you before, but you're one ugly broad. He's
Some
so rude.
men are misogynistic to cope.
Yeah. And Ruby demands for the knife. And Sam says, you'll get the knife when this is all over. And she says, it's already over. I gave you a way to save Dean, and you said no. So, it's too late. He's dead. And I'm not gonna let you die too. And Sam says, try and stop me. I'll kill you. Bitch.
There is a very long pause in between.
Like he was like double thinking.
Yeah.
Like he was like, should I call her bitch? Is this where I drop it? Am I gonna be just like Dean for real right now? And then he goes, bitch.
Yeah. It's a very interesting moment. Like, it's like he's clearly making the choice to say it to, like, indicate to her, like, it's over, like, I no longer view you as an equal or someone whose advice I'm willing to take. Like, he is using it as a way of putting emotional walls up between them, but by, like, using misogyny to, like, indicate the difference that he views between them. It is very interesting. And I think it is, like, a good character moment. But, like, gosh, Sam, really?
Ruby is unfazed by this. He just goes, hit me with your best shot, baby. And Dean calls this little fight that they're having a cat fight.
Mm.
Some people are
Misogynistic
misogynistic to cope.
I wonder what the title of this episode will be.
Yeah. And then they notice that there's like so many people who are now standing by the door.
Mm.
And everyone is there. And then they start running towards the house where Lilith is. And then people, like the demons, start running after them.
They're like trying to get into Lilith's house, and they don't know where Bobby is. But then when the first demon gets to the lawn of the house, the sprinkler system activates, and it is all holy water. So there's just like a wall of holy water sprinklers keeping out all the demons. And it is pretty fun. Like, I do enjoy when they come up with creative ways to use holy water in exorcisms, like in Use and Bellow. Like,
Yep.
yeah, that is like one aspect of the lore that they are not afraid to have fun with. So Dean's really psyched about this. Sam manages to get them in, and, you know, they're inside the house. They see the dead babysitter, and they go, uh-oh. And the three of them run into the dad. Dean, like, covers the guy's mouth and says, like, we're here to help. Like, tell us where your daughter is. And he instructs the guy to go to the basement and protect himself with salt. And the guy says that he won't do it without his wife. And Dean just knocks him out with a punch in the face, and then just like
literally
carries him downstairs. Meanwhile, Sam and Ruby are upstairs. They're sneaking about. Tension is high. And
they did this whole thing where Ruby goes into a room.
Yeah.
And it's like, for what? For what?
Well, they don't know which room is her bedroom, right?
They can look inside and see that she's not there.
That is true.
Like, what's the point?
They just wanted to shut her in a bank
They just needed
vault.
her to separate. They needed her to be separate so they, like, the whole possession thing can work out.
Yeah. When is the exact moment that Lilith possesses Ruby's vessel?
Like, I think the moment she entered that room.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that is what happens. And Sam eventually gets into Lilith's bedroom, and like she has a canopy bed with like this pink gauze like around it, so like he's a little bit hidden from view. And Lilith's asleep in the mom's arms. And Sam, you know, is sneaking up. He has the knife. He's getting closer, and the mom is awake, and like we see her like
terrified.
Yeah, she's terrified and like trying not to wake up Lilith, but she keeps mouthing like, do it. Like she's doing it. She's saying do it over and over again, and like I enjoyed this moment. It was like the mouthing of the do it. That was fun. I think that the actress did a good job with this. And like she's starting to get frantic, and she's starting to like say the do it out loud. But when like the Lilith child wakes up, like she screams like a regular kid and not like a demon. And Sam's about to stab her to death when Dean grabs him and says like that's not Lilith anymore. Like she's left this body.
Mm-hmm.
So I've thought earlier the reason that there was less discussion about why they weren't about how they were gonna kill a 10-year-old girl was like the lore that we got in like 315, which is that it seemed like all the demons that they exorcised recently like had worked their vessels so hard that they were just like dead upon the exorcism, so I sort of assumed that, like, we were supposed to think that all of these new demons had basically killed their vessels already. But, like, this little girl is alive, and I know it is just because Supernatural won't show child death, but I do like thinking, like, what it means that Lilith tries to treat her vessels well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess we'll learn more about Lilith in the future, will we?
I have no idea, actually.
Okay.
Hopefully. I think for me, because, like, Lilith and Eve kind of are mixed in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm pretty sure Lilith doesn't actually show up as Mary. That's Eve.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah.
So, like, the only thing I remember about Lilith is something that she did not do. So, R.I.P.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I know about Lilith is, like, a post that I saw about, like, someone liking aspects of Lilith, like, about, like, how they like that she presents herself as a child a lot of the time, and how her main thing is liking sweets, and how, like, she sort of seems like she became a demon through being, like, a spoiled child of Lucifer rather than by being tortured by Lucifer. So, like, I don't know, maybe we'll see more about her origin story, unless that person was just being creative, in which case, nice job.
Anyway, Dean, Sam, and Ruby are all going downstairs, and Dean is putting the family in the basement.
I just realized, do we see Bobby again in this episode?
Nope. Well, we do. He's looking out the window.
That's it? Man,
yes.
He made such a big fuss about coming along, and all he did was, like, provide, like, one fun sprinkler moment.
He literally only provided one fun sprinkler moment. But, like, Sam asked Ruby, like, where's Lilith? And she goes, I don't know. And Sam says, could she get past the sprinklers? And Ruby says, well, yeah, because she's, you know, high-ranking and everything. And Sam says, okay, you win. What do I have to do to save Dean? And she goes like, there's no fucking way in hell you're saving him now. You had your chance, and we needed time, so you can't just ask for us to do it now. And Sam is like, whatever it is, I'll do it. There's gotta be some way. And Sam says like, I'm not gonna let you go to hell, Dean. And Dean says, well, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And he says, sorry, it's all my fault. But what you're doing, it's not gonna save me. It's only gonna kill you. And Sam says,
there's no fucking proof of any of that.
Yeah, he's just just
making shit up. He rehearsed this in the car, too.
Yeah. And then Sam says, like, then what am I supposed to do? And Dean says, like, keep fighting, take care of my wheels. Remember what Dad taught you?
What? What did he teach you? What are you talking about?
Remember what I taught you. And it's like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Specifics, bro. Just say specifics, bro.
Like,
and then the clock strikes 12.
The only conversation we had sort of about what, like, Dean taught Sam was, like, that conversation where Sam's like, well, I need to be ruthless now to win this war because I have to be like you. And Dean's like, well, that concerns me because I prefer when you're yourself and bring up ethical concerns that I don't give a shit about. But I guess the outcome of this is you should be ruthless like me? Is that what remember what I taught you means?
I have no idea.
What does any of this mean? Oh, well.
Yeah. As the clock strikes 12, the Ruby tells Dean, I'm sorry. I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. Is this Lilith or is this Ruby? I think this is Ruby still.
Yeah, I
changed my mind. I think this is Ruby.
Okay, so you don't think that Lilith has possessed Ruby's vessel yet?
Yeah?
So where is
I
Lilith?
think maybe... I mean, it's all ambiguous. No
Yeah.
matter how hard we try to, like, reason it out here, we're not gonna get an answer.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to believe that this is Ruby and she's being for real.
I do believe that Ruby thinks this, but I don't know if it is still Ruby right now.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Dean goes like, oh, there's a hellhound here. Over there. And they start running to another room and, like, put the dust down and everything.
Right. Dean was like, oh, Sam, like, I've accepted my death. You should let me go to hell. And then as soon as he hears a dog, he's running. Like, whatever. According to your previous speech, you should just stand there.
Well.
So, right. They run into the other room. They're putting Goofer dust down to keep the dogs out. And Ruby tells Sam, like, give me, like, the demon-killing knife. Like, maybe I can go out and try to fight off those hellhounds. And Sam is about to do it when Dean yells stop again, and reveals that that is not Ruby, that is Lilith. And upon this reveal, Lilith stops acting. I don't think Katie Cassidy does a very good job embodying Lilith in this scene.
I think it's fine. I just didn't like what Lilith was doing anyway.
That's true. The fact that the last vessel we saw her in was a little girl makes all of her future behavior quite questionable, like, from a writing standpoint. And also...
What do you mean by that?
Like, she goes like, oh, like, I like this new vessel. It's all grown up and pretty. Like, what? I don't know. It's a weird switch for her. Like, I feel like they have made her a sexual being, but, like, in a weird childlike way.
I didn't see it as that. Okay. I just was like, I was thinking more of, like,
it's bad to
they're
sexually
doing the thing again
people.
where... Well, that one, and also the whole, like, thing you mentioned before where like, every villain who's a woman has to weaponize her sexuality in some way.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
Yeah, it's very, very annoying. Like, can't she just be, like evil in, like, a regular way? But, yeah, so her eyes turn white, which... Do we get... Okay, Crossroads demons have red eyes, Princes of Hell have yellow eyes. What types of demons have white eyes?
No idea.
Okay. Well...
I'm so useless, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Like, you've only watched this show several times.
Yeah, I think it's just her, though.
Huh. Okay. Well, whatever, I guess. Good for her.
She's the specialist little princess of hell.
Good for her. Right, she says that she sent Ruby far, far away for being a bad girl. Also, she's, like, cracking all of her vessel's neck bones and murdering her with every step she takes. Dean makes a comment where he's like, I should have noticed that you guys swapped earlier, but you all look the same to me, which is supposed to be, like a cool badass line, I fucking guess. But like,
also, it's so, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we saying this now? Is it supposed to be like a justification of how he did not notice before?
I guess.
By the writer?
I guess so. Also, it sounds like it just sounds vaguely racist. But, like, yeah, whatever. Like, this, I mean, the Supernatural goes back and forth on whether or not hating monsters is racist or not. Like, it's racist when Gordon does it, but if Sam and Dean do it, it's not. is what I mean by supernatural goes back and forth. Yeah, so this is at this point Lilith tells Sam that she's wanted to meet him for a long time, and then she sexually assaults him by like kissing
Yeah.
him really hard, and then she says your lips are soft. Why? What's the point of any of this?
What is the point?
Why? What even goes on? Did Eric Kripke write Shadow? No, that was someone else. Someone else wrote Shadow.
Yeah.
Because it was like their only
No, he wrote
episode.
Shadow. He
Wait,
wrote
he
Shadow.
did?
He wrote Shadow.
Fuck.
Yes.
Is this a thing?
This is
Eric Kripke, do you have a kink that you are putting on our screens like when you don't have to?
no.
Eric
did write Shadow.
Kripke just wants blonde demon women to sexually assault Sam Winchester so bad. Alright, Eric Kripke. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Great TV moments you're creating here. So, yeah, so he does that. So Eric Kripke does that to our eyeballs. I think, does Dean sort of like wince off screen at this or something? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess I was wincing off screen. So, Sam tells Lilith that, well, now that you have me, like, you should let Dean go. And Lilith says, like, to bargain, you have to have something that I want, and you don't. Dean says that her plan is to kill him and then kill Sam and become like the Queen of Hell or whatever. Lilith does not confirm this, but I think we're supposed to assume that that is indeed the case. Okay, I have a question about Ruby's motivations. She wants the apocalypse to... Does she want the apocalypse to happen? Or does she just want Sam to become Lucifer's vessel?
No, she wants the apocalypse to happen.
Okay,
I don't know. Don't ask me.
So the
we'll
righteous...
figure it out next season.
Okay, but the righteous man breaking in hell is a requirement. So, like, why would she actually want Sam to manage to kill Lilith?
Maybe it's, like, different right now.
Okay. Yeah. Also, yeah, like, what even is the definition of a righteous man, like, for the seal breaking?
Well, is it, like, the whole thing, like, John was supposed to be the righteous man?
Okay, but he didn't break in hell, so they were like, we gotta bring Dean in, because, like, he could maybe torture people.
What I wonder is if Sam was the one who went to hell, if he breaks, would they be considered the breaking of a righteous man?
Right. Yeah, I don't know, I think I read in a fic that the definition of a righteous man is just someone that makes a demon deal to save someone else's life. So, it really could be anyone.
Okay. Could be anyone.
I don't know, it surprises me that that's never happened before then. Like, I'm assuming plenty of people made demon deals to save someone else's life and then ended up torturing people in hell due to so much torture. I don't know if that fic was right. I guess we'll find out next season, or maybe we won't. And Lilith walks over to the door, and she goes, "Sick'em boy," and she opens the door, and a hellhound comes in, and she laughs a bunch. And Dean gets torn to fucking shreds. It is pretty brutal, but also, like, not as brutal as a lot of supernatural things. So, like, it didn't have that big of an impact on me.
Sam was watching this.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was the Bakugo tweet.
Wait, what Bakugo tweet?
What's that? They live streamed his death. His brother saw that shit. That's all I could think about.
Literally, they live streamed his death and his family saw that. Yeah, Jared Padalecki is putting his whole Jared Padalussy into this. Screaming, crying, throwing up, yelling, like, no, stop. Like, I feel like this entire episode has been, like, proof that Jared Padalecki is capable of acting in terms of, like, he's capable of crying on camera and Jensen Ackles isn't. So, yeah. You know, he's screaming and crying and begging Lilith to make it stop, but it doesn't stop. I think there's, like, a fun moment where, like, Dean gets, like, clawed really bad and, like, he arches his neck back in pain and, like, it cuts to Sam and he's doing, like, the same thing with his face, but, like, it's, like, an emotional pain crying arching his face. Like, that was a nice moment. Yeah, and, you know, Dean's being so killed, and then Lilith, like, puts out her hand and there's, like, a blinding white light that comes out of it, and it's supposed to, like, hit Sam and kill him, I think. And then, like, the light goes away, and she looks very confused, and I'm honestly a bit confused about what happened here. Like,
yeah, because a part of me, when I first watched it, was like, she's back to Ruby?
yeah, like, she's
What's
back
happening?
to Ruby, or she's back to the vessel? Like, what's happening? Exactly, yeah, like, the acting choices made after the white light goes away, like, makes it seem like she's a completely different character than Lilith. But, like, Lilith is still in her? I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I thought maybe this was, like, a fun preview to the thing that, like, happens with the nurse in, like, 422 or whatever, where, like, the demon allows, like, the vessel's consciousness to come to the surface to, like, beg Sam not to, like, kill her. But I don't think that is what's happening here. I think we're just supposed to read that, like, she's acting so completely differently because she's so afraid at the fact that Sam was able to resist her power. But, like, I was just confused.
It doesn't come off that way. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it took me a while to figure out that that is what I was supposed to get out of this. So she tells Sam to, like, stay back, but he's coming at her with the knife. And just as he's about to stab, the vessel's, like, head, like, falls back really hard, and, like, a bunch of black smoke comes out of her, and she screams, and then she collapses dead. And then, you know, Sam is left alone in this room, and he, like, walks over to Dean, and he's crying, and I've seen this shot a lot. I feel like he's doing a good job crying. Like, you can see the tears, like, going off of his nose, and, like, one, like, jumps free and lands on Dean. So, yeah, he's, you know, cradling Dean's dead body and going, like, no, no. But, you know, more emotionally than that. And then we zoom into Dean's eye. And this is, like, a transition until we get into, like, some weird cloudy green fart cloud world. And Dean is chained up by all of his limbs. And he's, like, covered in blood, and he's screaming, "Someone help me!" And then he starts screaming, "Sam! Sam!" And then we fade to credits.
We truly do. Man, that was an episode.
Yeah. You said you had things to say about Dean's death when we got to Dean's death.
No, it was that. It was that I thought
it was just the Bakugo tweet. So fucking true. That's so correct.
Insightful to say. I mean, because of that thought, I couldn't, like, get into the emotional space to mourn the Dean's death.
I also can't.
I was literally just going, like, Sam saw that shit, man. And he literally did.
Yeah. Like, I can't even get into, like, the emotional depths of how awful Sam must feel right now. Like, it's just, like, isn't it so funny that happened? It's, like, the only thought I can muster about this.
Yeah. I mean, what is your, like, final thoughts about this episode?
I didn't like that Dean was... Okay, I liked and didn't like that Dean was screaming Sam's name. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like a pretty cheap way to end the season. Like, the fade out of him yelling Sam. Like, whatever. Like, he does that all the time. That doesn't mean anything. But I guess, like... I think I was thinking about, like various, like anecdotes from real life people about, like moments of greatest pain in their life where, like, they've had, like, really difficult relationships with their parents, but, like, in, like, their moments of being the most scared, they, like, their thought is, like, I wish my mom was here or something like that. And I do, like, wonder if I would like this scene better if he was screaming for Mary or John. But then, I guess...
Yeah. The emotional something wouldn't be the same.
Right, but I think this also does an amount of good work in that, like, it's true that Sam is the only person he has left, and it is true that during this whole season, Sam was like, you've always taken responsibility for me, so it's, like, my turn to take care of you, and you can count on me, and it will be okay. So, like, it does make sense that it is Sam. But, like, it's also, like, whatever, he does this all the time.
I think the whole, like, greatest moments of pain, you go back to, like, who you were with in your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, like, a thing that people experience. I've seen it, like, in people who were dying.
Yeah.
Like, calling out to their siblings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, just the people they were with in their youth.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it does make sense. Not even in a, like, this is the person who took care of me or protected me or stuff, but, like, and, like, this is the person I was with during, like, better moments of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I mean, you can't really say that about Dean, I guess. He didn't really have much good moments in his life. But, like, you know what I mean. Like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anyway. Best line, worst line?
Best line... I kind of did like Ruby's thing about, like, how you don't like being different and, like, you hate the way Dean looks at you. Just every time they, like, actually bring up a Sam storyline that I feel like has gotten dropped, I start screaming and cheering regardless of the quality of the line. So, yeah, that is my best line.
I think for best line, I actually really did like when they were singing Bon Jovi together. I know I made fun of Sam, but, like, my best line in this episode is just them, like, singing together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, I don't know, it feels very, like, you would think that the intention of the scene is to break the tension in some way. Like, let's have... But it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The point is to build to the tension that, like, oh, he's dying for real.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to make you even more anxious and more... And I like that, like, subversion, in a way, of, like, this scene that's supposed to be fun and something, looking back to it, almost feels, like, tragic in some way, that, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I quite like it. For worst line, what's your worst line?
I like, Dean's very misogynistic this episode, so
yeah,
any of them. I think Sexy Little Yoda is too iconic to be my worst line. Maybe it's when he was so mean to Bella. Like,
yeah,
I also hate that is, like, how we leave off on her character and we, like, never meet her again, you know?
Go back to her again. Yeah. I have said this before, but I hate the word skank so much. Like, I hate it so much, it's unreal.
Yeah.
So, like, I think the Miss Universe of lying skanks.
Yeah.
I hate that line.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, spreadsheet!
Spreadsheet.
We are spreading that sheet, baby. That sounds so horrible.
I thought that was the point.
We
Alright.
literally are spreading that sheet.
Yes. So, misogyny, definitely present. Would you say it's a 1 or a 2?
Yeah, I would say it's a 2 this episode.
Yeah, I agree. He just hates women so much. And, in fact, Sam also hates women so much by the end of this.
Yeah.
Racism, I don't recall anything related to
No,
people
I don't think
of
there's
color
anything.
ever coming up, so they managed to dodge it via omission. Homophobia?
Yeah.
I don't think
No.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright. So we got a 2-0-0.
Alrighty. A 2-0-0. Okay, IMDb.
Huh.
I am not sure.
Yeah. I feel like the shock value of Dean actually sorry, why did I say crying? The shock value of Dean actually dying could go either way in terms of the scores.
Mm-hmm. I would say this is an 8.9.
Huh. I was not gonna go that high.
I mean, you know how season finales are.
That's true. 8.7 is what I'm going to guess.
Okay. So 8.9 versus 8.7. Damn, it's a 9.2.
Oh shit, okay. That's very high. Is that, like, what else has even been that high? Like, okay, it looks like 303 was a 9.2, which was Bad Day at Black Rock. Alright, fair. Okay, In My Time of Dying was a 9.2. This was not as good as In My Time of Dying.
In My Time of Dying was 9.2?
Yeah.
Damn. Bad Day at Black Rock is 9.2. And this is... I mean, maybe that's equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometimes I don't understand the ratings in this show.
Yeah, nor do I.
Yeah. This review said that this is the best supernatural season ender of the first 3 seasons. Well, to be fair,
there's only been 2 others.
Everything is just saying excellent episode. Oh, this one. 0 payoff. What a disappointing season. This finale had 0 payoff. We don't know any more about Lilith. Dean died, so everything they tried in this season was for nothing. Sam can suddenly resist Lilith without further explanation. This was such a nonsensical finale, it's insane. Yeah, it was gripping. Right until those last few moments when you realize it was all for nothing. Somebody's mad that Dean died. Like,
right. Have you considered that it's so funny?
Have you considered that it's so funny?
Trying to see if there's anything else that's interesting here.
This one just describes like what happened in the last scene of the show. Like of the episode. And I was like, just like me and Crystal, for real.
Yeah. True.
Like, they don't say anything else, they just describe it.
Is this the 5 out of 10 one?
Yeah.
It's true, they do not explain why it's 5 out of 10. They just summarize the episode and it's titled Death of One of the Winchester Boys. Sad emoticon. So real.
Yeah.
Guess that's it.
I guess that's it for this episode of Busty Asian Beauties. Next week, we will be discussing Season 3 in general.
Yes.
And our expectations for Season 4.
Yes.
You leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/beautiespodcast and on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. You can send us questions for the Q&A at either of those locations. And those are due by midnight Eastern time on April 1st, 2023. Thank you to everyone who's donated to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/BustyAsianBeautiesPod, and check out our merch at badpod.redbubble.com.
You can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. See you guys next time. Bye!